Welcome to the kitchen sink. We will chat, we will make you think. You will not want to go to the loo. You could miss a lot if you had that poo. Stay and watch and join in. Yeah! Hello everyone. Welcome to the
Did it work? Oh no, I removed it.
Show me out again. I'm Sarah Bridgman and this is
Lucy Orchard.
Lucy Orchard. Hello, Lucy. This week, so if you've not watched us before, we fanny about for about half an hour, then we bring a guest in. Our guest this week is the fantastic Barry Castagnola. And I've seen him at a gig before, but I was like, right, I do my due diligence, do a little bit of checking up and see who he is, what he is. I knew he was an act, but oh my God, I didn't realise how amazing he is. He does everything. You know, it puts everyone to shame.
I've been raving about Barry.
I know, you just know he's amazing. He's a TV producer, podcast producer, radio producer, actor, presenter.
Writer.
If we were in your favourite times, the olden days, he would be equivalent to someone who just does it all. You know, films, music, telly, vaudeville. He'd be tap dancing, singing and waving an umbrella all at the same time. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with Barry. Not that I wasn't before, because he's an amazing, very funny guy, very entertaining. So, but looking forward to just chatting with him. And but also this week we have Shani Thomas with What I Learned. Yeah, we've missed her. We've missed you, Shani. So she'll be up very soon, actually. And also we've got old and new comedy review later on in the show. So, Lucy, how are you? What's up, bud? What is happening? What on earth is going on with you this week?
I literally, in order to finish my day, vote and get home, I pretty much Tokyo slid my truck into my yard. My mother, because I used to do European driving, so I was still on a postal boat. So my mum was able to meet me in the car park with the postal boat, and she was able to take that to the polling station as I'm undoing all my stuff and I'm filling out paperwork, voting, giving it to my mum. Go on, Chris, go with it. Chug it up.
Well, there was a postal vote. I thought it had to be like posted.
It has to get to the council offices by 10 p.m.
Ooh, right, okay. So what's the benefit of postal voting if you're just going to get there on this voting day anyway?
I could give it to you and you could take it in.
Ah, very good. And who did you vote for?
It's my democratic right not to say.
Did you vote for the correct one, though?
Yes, I did.
Me too. We also had votings here in Wales, and I also voted for the correct one. Oh, but I tell you what, it was a treat this year. Oh, my word. I don't know about you, but in our area, we got loads of randoms this year. It was really good fun. So we had Repel, which is all about, I guess, repelling stuff. Namely, voters looking at the photo on the thing.
What was the campaign for? Waterproofing Max.
If it had been, it would have been bloody better, I tell you. It was. There were a few, about half a dozen. Repel is the only one I think of, but there's also an independent. And literally about half a dozen all going, vote for me, I will fight for our freedom. No more being locked up. And I was like, oh, really? You've already failed the intelligence test. Because we know why we're being locked up, COVID, anyone. But yeah, so I just find it really amusing. It's just, remember when politics was fun? You might not remember because it was the 70s, and I vaguely remembered it. I was a child. So yeah, we've got some people. Oh yay, Ray is here, is already joining in. But well done for voting. People have died so that we could vote, Lucy. That's why I always vote. Right, Ray Turner, it's Thursday. We're like, well done, Ray! Big round of applause for Ray. He doesn't always make it. He's not always awake at 7 p.m. We won't judge, Ray, but we're very pleased to see you. Frank, aka Frank Milford. Frank is here. It was for the police, though, this time. Right, was it? Now, in Wales, we were voting for our Senedd, which is our big government. And in Wales, they're trying to escape the English, the tyranny of Westminster. There seems to be a lot of arguments about that. So yeah, that's great fun in my household. My parents are not agreeing. I, on the other hand, I'm like, whatever. I don't think my one vote is going to topple the government.
If everybody thought like that, Sarah.
I know. But it's in Wales. Anyone from Wales, right? Join in, Welsh people. But it's going to be Labour. Labour will get in because they always bloody do. And I will come on here next week. I need to hold up Haagen-Dazs if someone else gets in. But yeah, it's been Labour forever. Viva Labour forever in Wales. I didn't vote Labour. I voted Plaid. I don't mind knowing who knows. I voted Plaid Cymru because I couldn't see the one for Yes Cymru, and I thought, oh, a bit radical. But Yes Cymru's getting a lot of traction. But I voted Plaid because I don't know. I want to learn to speak Welsh. It'd be cool if we were all having to speak Welsh. I don't think that is their platform, but I didn't feel like we were in any danger that my vote was going to topple the thing anyway. But yeah, happy voting day, everyone. And very pleased that you voted, Lucy. And did you know that actually it wasn't just the women that died for us to be able to vote. It's also working class people. Because back in the day, it was only bloody rich people that could vote. So yeah, if you're not rich, vote anyway.
When it's the anniversary of women getting the vote, it's women that are married with home ownership and all that stuff. It's sort of like it was a while before somebody like me.
Yeah, but I listened to your Dead to Me podcast on the matter, so I kind of trust them because they're on the BBC, so they've got to be some kind of fact checking, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that was quite interesting. Yeah, that'll do. It's better than getting me facts from a red top newspaper. So yeah. Well, anyway, maybe it's something I could research for next week. But yeah, I always thought that all men could vote and then women had to fight to vote, but not the case. First of all, it was all the rich people got to vote. I mean, Mega, just one notch below Prince Charles rich. And then it was the working class people had to fight to be able to vote. If you had a business, you could vote. If you had like a rich business, whatever. But normal people, like the miners in Wales, didn't get to vote. They had to fight for that right. And then women, but even children can vote now. In Wales,
even children can vote. Even people with smartphones. We as the women folk, the suffrage movement agreed to change their colours, make it the British movement, help with the First World War, and for that we managed to do a little bit of a dealio with Lloyd George, and we got the second vote. So yes, it was a lot of moving and shaking, and we had to change from pastels to red, white, and blue.
That was
I'd say sequins for everyone.
Maybe next time we'll change it to glitter. Okay, good afternoon, Jason Griffith from Valparaiso, Indiana. Ooh, I like America, but I haven't been there yet, so I'm holding judgment until I've been there. But for now, I like it. Right, so that's how we are. But we have a guest in our dining room, and I'm trying to find the video. So we've
I can see it on your face.
This is my concentration face. Okay, so we've missed her. She hasn't been here for a while, but she is here now. Give it up for the fantastic Shani with Waterland.
We don't know much, so Shani's gonna tell us what she's learned.
Woo, Shani!
Hello! Oh, look at that!
Wendy, apologize. I'm pink. Who's chocolate?
I think my shit's chocolate.
Better to deal with that. Do it that way rather than have that awkward conversation. Who'll be vanilla and chocolate? I'm clearly strawberry. How are you, Shani?
I'm really good. I've missed you guys.
Oh.
We've missed you too.
I think you had a break, then I had a break. Is that what happened?
I think so.
We were on a break.
We were on a break. Oh, great.
We didn't cheat on you with anyone. We didn't get anyone in.
Just different, was it? It wasn't better, just
Never.
different.
Yeah, we didn't grab a random, go and tell us something you've learned this week. That's only for you, my darling.
Well, hi, it's nice to see you. And I like Lucy's glitter stuff.
No, I'm very jealous of Lucy's glitter.
I am loving life with that. Would you like to know what I learned?
Yes, please.
Oh, I remember. I tried to send you a video about this, didn't I? And it went so wrong because of my limited technological skills. Okay, so what I've learned that traditional Sikhs carry 4 objects on them at all times: a comb, a bracelet, a blade, and a very specific pair of underpants. And this is in addition to keeping their hair long. And each thing starts with the letter K. So it's called the 5 Ks. I'm not talking about when someone's being like very passive aggressive in their reply to you, like K, 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 K. So I was just wondering, actually, I'll tell you, I've just looked at my other screen now. I left the wiki up. So it's called, so Kesh is uncut hair, Kanga is the comb, Kara is the bracelet, Kachera is 100% cotton table undergarment. It must not be elastic. And Kirpan, which is that's the dagger then. So just wondering what you think of that, really, and if you've got 5 items you carry on you at all times. Off the top of your head.
Straight away, I think, yeah, makes sense. 100% cotton, no elastic. Spot on there, Steve. Spot on. Lucy, what would you have? What would your 5 items be? You go first.
So I brought them with me. So I always have a hair clip because I have to. I spend 50% of my day going, where's my hair clip? Where's my hair clip? Who's moved my hair clip? I've bought 1 million of them, and whenever I need one, whew, away they go. I've always got my tobacco.
Is that in a wrap or something? That looks quite hipstery.
In a little green pouch. Yeah. So yeah. Then moving on to I changed it last minute. So I always have some sort of tape, electrical tape or mouse gaffer tape. I have on every hat. You never know. You genuinely never know. The measuring tape is in my pocket, in my coat. It doesn't leave my coat pocket. It's a little measuring tape that you grab at a Christmas cracker, and I use it probably about 20 times a week. I always have a reason to measure something. And I too have a ceremonial dagger, but it's a Swiss Army knife.
They're legal, aren't they? They're legal
and
carry.
Yeah, and I've had it on a lanyard near me for possibly 15 years.
Absolutely brilliant. I love it.
How often have you used that, Lucy? Your Swiss Army knife?
Honestly, I can blindfold, take apart a laminator. I can fix plugs, equipment, DIY, you name it. The Swiss Army knife, much better than a Gerber, much better than a Leatherman. Don't waste your money, people.
Okay. I could have done with you last week. We did the family quiz, and one of our options, my brother-in-law, his category was knives, and he wanted us to come up with types of knives, and I was like, pen knife, that's the same thing. So I couldn't even think of any type of knife, let alone bloody type of whatever of knife. What's it called? When a kind of product. I know what I mean. Anyway.
I was fortunate enough to go trekking in Switzerland as well. Yeah, and the beautiful thing about Swiss Army knives is they make them for kids, but they make them with a little wooden handle, not a red one. So you could have my first knife. And I thought,
my first knife.
Honestly, with Swiss Army knives, no wonder the Swiss are so neutral and calm, because can you imagine how close you'd have to be to get to someone to murder them with a tiny little knife?
It's like, hang on 1 second, let me just get that's the wine opener. Hang on, no, 1 second. Yeah. That's the scissors. Right, stand there, I'm going to get you. No, that's Phillips.
I am going to trim your nails.
So I can, stand right there and hold this bottle of wine before moving. Okay, these are the things I would have, and I had to come up with. I've got more than 5, but
Nice.
I'll have to break it down to 5. Number 1, chocolate.
Yeah.
You can't live without chocolate. You've got to have a bit of chocolate, especially if you might be on a desert island somewhere. You
Yeah.
need food. I'm vegan / vegetarian. I'm not killing no animals. Chocolate. Next, pudding. Exactly the same thing, but sometimes you want something less, chocolatey and more nommy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pudding. And goo pudding, although they have them in the fridge, I suspect they would survive any kind of environment because there is so much sugar in those things.
Yeah.
So,
And you got the ramekins then for heating up little puddings.
oh yes, I could melt the chocolate in it, put it in the sun for about 2 hours.
In my world, that becomes an ashtray.
Oh, it's for dead tea bags for me.
Yeah.
It's my dead tea bag
Mine's
dish.
just for putting in the cupboard and feeling guilty about how many puddings I eat, and then eventually put them in the glass recycling. I'm with Lucy. Hairbands. You've got to have a hairband with any kind of length of hair.
Oh god, yeah.
And I've got chocolate again because you can't have too much chocolate. A flat white machine, first world problems, and also some plant milk. I think that's stuff you can have you on you at all times.
I like that. Like some sort of you need a tool belt, I think, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Walk around like anyone wants some oat milk? Quick draw.
Yeah. Stand right there. Halt right there. You're not using milk. Have plant milk. I think I might have actually argued with my dad. Didn't argue, discussed with my dad. He always, every now and then, if you're vegetarian / vegan, one or both of your parents will challenge you on that at any given time. And it's usually arguments such as, but plants have feelings too. And if we kill all of the cows, then if we don't farm cows anymore, we'll be overrun with cows. Ridiculous arguments like that. And he started an argument / discussion on Monday, and I think I won. Because I got him to concede that calves are the babies of cows, and surely, in that sense, it's their milk, not our milk. He had to agree to that because that is fact. And then I was like, right, gotta go home now, and it did like a lap as a victory that I finally got my dad could concede a single point.
Amazing.
So very happy with that.
As a prize, you should go to the nearest Tesco and get a Walls vegan sausage roll for 80p. I had one today, warmed up with brown sauce. It was amazing.
Was it better than a Greg's vegan sausage roll?
Because I like to microwave pasties and make them all soggy, I can't directly compare them. But I'd say they're nearly as peppery.
I feel like we have to do a taste test. Greg's versus Walls. If someone can go and get me both, we could do it in the next half hour. We do that next week.
We do that.
Bring me the baked goods.
Hello? Next door? Can you bring me baked goods? I'm stuck under something heavy. Okay, we have some comments from our lovely viewers.
Oh, and Fran's here. Hi, Fran. I call him Fran. Familiar, we are.
Fran or Frank last week. So I love a hard consonant, so I'm calling Frank. Yeah. Lucy equals female MacGyver.
Nice.
What was that to?
What?
The knife.
Ah, right.
And the
yeah, because MacGyver famously can do anything with a paperclip.
Oh, famous. Right, okay. I will quickly Google that. And Ray has said, my first knife is what they give as presents up here in Town Hill at christenings.
I was going to say Town Hill or Bonamine. See, it must be a popular reputation then, Ray. Must be. I'm sorry that you're there.
Town Hill is lovely and it has lovely views. I live around the corner from it. There we are for balance, even though we're not the BBC. And quite famously, they keep stopping our videos if we show anything with the BBC. And Ray says they're afraid of the Great Cow Uprising. Aren't we all?
I got my items. I got my items.
I was going to say, Shani, we'd like to know yours.
I did them all starting with the same letter, and now I feel like a right nerd.
Go on then. What did you have?
But Sarah, I'm doing a course that Sarah did once about writing, and I think I'm in a nerdy mood. I'm just like, gotta do my little tasks. So my 5 are bobby pins because I leave them everywhere. I mark my territory with them, and I'm absolutely awful. There's always something bugging me in my face. Yeah, exactly. A bra because I'm on the pill and like they're always angry and I just can never decide whether I want to wear one or not. So I'll just keep one in my bag. A banjo so that I can maybe learn to play it. Buscapan because it's great for crones. And bourbon biscuits because they're the best biscuits. Let's not mess around here.
They are the best. Nom is what I say to that.
Nom. Well,
we'll move on. Frank says, I had an addiction to Greg's vegan rolls. It got so bad they invited me to their Christmas do.
Where's my +1 for that?
Yeah, +3, please, Frank.
Yeah, I know, right?
I do love their, although I can't eat them anymore, I do love their egg and mayo-based products. They're also very nice.
Yeah.
And their coffees, and it's all reasonable. Oh, Greg's, do you want to sponsor us?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Shani.
Well, you're welcome.
It's been so lovely to see your lovely face.
Yes,
it's been too long.
It's been too long, Lev, and I'm really sorry.
You got a Lucy eyebrow then. Do you see that?
I'm very happy now. I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Thank you, baby.
Okay.
Lovely to see you.
All right, go you now. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Shani. We'd have to have a Shani special and make her come back and be a guest again.
I've passed about 2 egg places that sell eggs for cheaper than £1, or sorry, more expensive than £1. And I swear it's her playing the long game, that she's moved into my area, she's bought some chickens, and she's deliberately pricing them just to drive me insane. Because I think she's got it. I think she's got the foresight.
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely a Shani thing. Oh, bye, Frank. Frank's off. Ta-da. I love our viewers. So kind. By the way, sorry, you're going to go.
Rather glad of me.
Now, right, we've got a production decision to make now, Lucy. I have uploaded a picture for our old and new comedy review, but I haven't uploaded it. I've uploaded it to my thing, and then I didn't have time to upload it to this. And also, we have a guest in the dining room. So you
snuck in early.
Yeah. So do we
waste a second of the Castagnola?
Can we give Reggie Perrin what it deserves in 7 minutes, or shall we?
I think we can. I think we can give it. We can do it in 3 minutes, to be honest.
Let's do it. Right. Well, we haven't got a picture. Sorry, you're going to have to imagine what Reggie Perrin's like. But right now, it is time for Old and New Comedy Review. We use that mainly for the cat at the end.
Can't lie.
So every week, one of us will suggest a comedy for us both to watch and see what we think of it. Lucy, do you want to introduce the one that you suggested last week?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to have it as my turn. So I chose, up to date, 1976, The Rise and Fall of Reggie Perrin, because it's quite a landmark comedy, and I don't know, it came to mind. I think somebody was talking about making their own wine, and it came to mind because there are so many different key parts of Reggie Perrin that sort of have outlived even the show's fame. And a lot of people quote it, and I don't think they've seen it, and that really winds me up. So, Sarah, what did you think of the fall and rise of Reggie Perrin? Did you like it, or did you walk into the sea?
I did both. I really liked it. Okay, we've got to We've got to, anything pre, I think 2003. We've got to go. You know what? It's of its time. We've got to
It's
just
of its
decide.
time.
It's of its time. Our favourite is of its time, meaning sexist, racist. Or it wasn't racist. It was definitely sexist.
No.
I think it was more.
Yes.
It reflected society's views of women at the time. Let's put it that way. So once we know, we can appreciate that is not how you treat women anymore, right? We can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I thought it's well observed, and you know what? It is due a remake because everything that I'm on episode 3, and it's so rare that you know what I'm like. I'm like, I watched most of one of the episodes enough to do the review. Can't be asked for the rest of it. Usually done, you know, usually what it is. But this, I'm like, oh, it's really good. The first episode, they really sets up the situation brilliantly. It's anyone that works in that kind of field or knows someone who works as middle management, I think can relate to it. Well, it's very, very funny. The only criticism I would say is that Leonard Rossiter is such a brilliant star. He is so good. I don't know if I'm pretty sure it would be, but I wonder with a lesser talent in the lead role, would it still be as good? I don't know. But I have to say, it's packed full of jokes. It is very funny, so I don't see why not. And lots of different types of jokes, really visual, surreal, as well as your standard, set up punchline type jokes. Really good. They've got running gags. It's really good. Well done. Well done. I really enjoyed that. And I have to say, David Nobbs, who's the writer, it was his only success, really. He went to write novels then. He's a massive novelist. He wrote a BBC sitcom in 1980 called The Sun Trap that died on its ass. It got no viewers and it was cancelled. So, I don't know why, because I think it was beautifully observed, but he clearly had a lot to say about this type of, work environment. So, really good. So thank you, Lucy. I really enjoyed it. What did you think?
I remembered lots of it, but until I sat down and watched it, all the pieces fell together. And I mean, like CJ the boss, I didn't get where I was today by giving away free knowledge. I mean, that quote, I didn't get right. That still stands. When you get into further series, his brother-in-law, the fact that he makes lettuce wine or parsnip wine or anything like that, he's quite an insipid character. Like that still resonates with me. It did get remade with Martin Clunes, but unfortunately, I don't think they put the full effort in, as it didn't do too well. Please, for fuck's sake, please. Let's hope Barry wasn't involved in it. Oh, dead. We probably should have Googled that. But I did like it. But Leonard Rossiter is such a good character that he can play somebody that really makes me annoyed. I'm sure he's nothing like that, but sometimes I want to push him in the sea. I'm like, just keep walking. Just don't turn around. And like the fact that her indoors is treated sort of that way, whereas Sue Nichols is treated differently. I quite like the fact that the secretary is seen as secretary, but with sexy, but without having like the wench top or the iconic pencil skirt that all women were given that era to wear. But I was really pleased. I was like, is it as good as I remember it? And actually, it wasn't too bad.
As long as we remember, it's of its time, certainly not controlling the way they treat women, but it's certainly a reflection of society at the time, I would say. Also, it was, exaggerated for comic effect, I'm sure. Frank, glad you're still with us. Sorry, you're still here for another half hour. Tim Newton says...
Oh, no, wrong with Reggie. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry, I'm twice today. With Reggie Perrin, that was my choice. And with tradition, you have to come up with next week's review. So, Sarah Bridgman, are you going old or new for the comedy review?
As ever, I'm going bloody new. I'm going into a bit of James A. Caster K-hole at the moment. Bloody, I won't say, because we always say whether we like stuff or not, but shock horror, I've watched about 5 of his specials in the last week. So maybe I like a little bit. A spoiler alert. But there's a couple. The one that made me go, he's on podcast and all the rest of it, but for £10, I'm not advertising it. He's not like condoning this anyway, but he's got a special on Vimeo, which you pay £10. You get about 2 hours worth of material, and it is really, really good. I really enjoyed it. But there's 4 specials on Netflix, so fill your boots. It's as overall, it's called Repertoire. So that's what I'd like, and choose any one of the repertoires. I've watched 3 out of 4. I've got the next one to watch probably later on today or tomorrow. So that's the one I was tempted to go with Rising Damp because I enjoyed Roger Perrin so much. But yeah, so like Acaster repertoire. Sorry, I was giggling away at Ray. Ray said basically saying, so Sarah's basically saying I didn't get where I am today by watching more than one review. So true. And hi Tim, by the way. Tim Newton says evening both. And Frank says James Icaster was on the Good Jokes podcast recently. In depth. I listened to that. It's a really good one. Brilliant podcast, that one. And I'd recommend that. And he had 2 episodes on Comedian's Comedian. But yeah, that's what got me to buy his special. What's it called? Cold Lasagna, Hate Myself, 1999. And if you like anything that I like, I fully recommend getting that. It was really good. But yeah, repertoire. Fill your boots. Okay, so next. So we have a guest in the dining room, I see. We have an amazing guest, Barry Castagnola. What nibbles have we got for Barry?
Right, I've kept it simple, but there are traps laid. All right, so I've gone for crumpets. Crumpets with butter, crumpets with honey, crumpets with cheese, crumpets with jam. But I've also put out some crumpets with Marmite because if he eats them, I'm going to judge the shit out of him.
Did you know there's a Marmite shortage at the moment?
Good. I mean, I like Marmite, but I accidentally bought a pack of crumpets once. I thought they were already toasted or whatever, but it was actually laden with pre-Marmite, and it. Yes, an angry letter was written that night forthwith.
We've got definitely got a bit of crumpet for our Barry in the
dining room, not just the food. Aye.
Anything else, or is he just? He's going to come in all
from what I've seen. I'm surprised. It'll all be gone. From what he said in the past, it's all going to be gone. And also, I made a nice frothy coffee on the side just to keep it on brand.
Absolutely brilliant. Everyone, please welcome. We welcome him to the kitchen now. Our fantastic guest, co-producer of the Froth with Rod Gilbert, and he's an actor. He's a TV producer. He's a comedian. He's just think of anything in showbiz, and Barry does it. Please welcome Barry Castagnola.
Good evening. Little bit offended because I adapted the new Reggie Perrin. Thanks for the crumpets. I do, but I have my crumpets butter only. I'm quite. I don't get me wrong. I love cheese. I'm one of those people. Marmite, I couldn't give a shit either way. To be honest, I'm not. I don't fall into the love it or hate it. I'm like, yeah, fine, but not on a crumpet. And I'm very particular about my crumpets to the point where I like to leave it for a couple of minutes, but sometimes even up to 3 minutes or so, and then have a nice sheen, lashings of butter with a real sheen of butter, not more than a sheen actually, a big layer of butter. Like if you do it too quickly, it all soaks through and down to the bottom, and you get that little bit of residue on the plate. And really Warburtons as well, the standard.
Yeah,
very good.
Someone bought me. I hope well, I mean, the chances, to be honest, of the fact that they would be tuning in right now are unlikely. But someone did buy me as a present. Bought me some like sort of organic artisan crumpets because they knew that I was a big crumpet fan, and they were disgusting. I just saw that, by the way. I hoped it was Lloyd Langford. Thank you. Just come on here. Just looked down and saw that comment, whoever that was.
I meant it. I aimed for the welcome Barry, and I was like, Frank, have a word with yourself.
Viewers, be nice.
Barry is amazing, and have you seen the large crumpet, the Warburtons? They've got one big one. Have you tried that one?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's a good crumpet. I'd probably still just go for 2 standards over the 1 large, but sometimes, sometimes if I'm depending on how I'm feeling, how much exercise I've done that day, I might even go for 3 or 4.
Yeah,
live
I'd be
a little.
lucky.
That's what I say. We've been in lockdown.
Do you know, I always make 2. I like them extra hot. I like them very similar to yourself with a bit of lashings of butter, so you can like suck the butter out of it. And then I always think, right, I'm going to have 2, only 2, and then I always give in and then cook another 2, and that extra second one is always a bit. That 4th one is that one too many. 3, I think, is optimal.
Sometimes I'll go 4, and then I'll hate myself for the rest of the evening.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's all we have time for. We just
thanks very much for coming on.
I'm always happy for some crumpet talk.
No, I was looking at sorry, go on, Lucy.
I do love the froth, because we've had Sean Harry's on, and we're big frothetters, and I'm massive fans of your mother and her partner's Monkey News clan. Lucy the orangutan has just joined the family. Yeah. I was like,
they took Lucy the orangutan on their most recent trip to lockdown. I mean, those who have never listened to the froth, just to explain quickly, my mum and her partner have got an obsession with both real and cuddly monkeys, and they've got over 130. I mean, it was news to me. I found out we did a call with them the other day that we put into the podcast. We have a feature called Aches of Froth, where they talk about their latest monkey news, as you say, Lucy. And then the other day, I didn't realize. I knew they got a flat in Bournemouth, or he's got a flat in Bournemouth. My mum's partner, they go down to, then they go off to Monkey World or the Bovington Tank Museum. One of the two. They're actually right next to each other. I mean, if the monkeys ever take over, then we're in trouble. They've got the military hardware next door. But what I didn't realise was, I knew they had lighthouses, but it was a surprise to me when I asked them how many lighthouses they had.
80.
They had over 70 lighthouses. And as Rod pointed out in the show, in any other situation, you'd be known for your lighthouses. But then if you can trump that with almost double the amount of lighthouses, but with monkeys, I mean, yeah. I mean, to be honest, about 20 of them are probably from me, because it's an easy present, and like every time I watch, I get a monkey, obviously. So
it's your version of the Body Shop gift set. But the question I'm leading up to, in fact, I've had a couple of comments sent to me personally, going, "Oh my god, I can't believe I love Barry's work. I love him on the podcast. Did you know that he's got parents with a monkey obsession?" I was like, "Yeah, obviously." But the fact is, your mum has got. your mum has got Apes of Froth, okay, and they're a massive part of the podcast. You do all the production work, you rein Rod in when you can, and yet when they do the introduction, it's like, "Hi, I'm Rod, I'm Sean, this is Rosie." Have you never said
oh yeah, how come your dog's getting more higher billing than I am? No, do you know what? I never even thought of that, actually. Yeah, and I edit the thing every week. I listen to that. Yeah, no, do you know what? I never even thought of that. I mean,
you could be Barry, a person in his own right.
Yeah. I think what it was, because originally there was always going to be. There's always this weird thing where, because I produce it, I'm always there. So when we have guests on, such as the brilliant Lloyd Langford, who one of your viewers wanted, who is fantastic, one of the best guests on the Froth. But when we have, we have various guests on there, but sometimes it'll just be me. But weirdly, I then get announced as the special guest, and I'm always like, I'm here anyway. So it's a strange one, but it's great fun to do. We just come to the end of the 3rd series, and it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, is it weird, like walking that line between producer and performer, because you're so talented, you just do everything?
Well, I mean, do you know what? I think I started off. So I always wanted to sort of act and do stuff. And when I was a kid, I used to, I was in all the school plays and stuff, and always the fat parts. I wanted to be Fagin and Oliver, and they gave me Mr. Bumble. And then I wanted to be Bugsy Malone, and I was Fat Sam. It was just like, finally, finally I landed the lead role of Dracula in Dracula Spectacular, the musical, and especially with my face painted right, it was the roundest looking Dracula you've ever seen in your life. So I'd always sort of done acting, and then I sort of fell in years ago. I fell into doing production and ended up working at the BBC for a while, working on sort of various comedy shows, including the stand-up show. I'd already sort of started dipping my toe into stand-up, actually slightly before that, and then sort of was doing stand-up for years and a few other little bits and pieces and lots of. You sort of fall into things, like I ended up doing loads of hidden camera shows for ages. I done there was a Channel 4 thing called Experimental, and loads. I think at one point I counted there's about sort of 15 or 20 different pilots or series of hidden camera shows, and quite often it's other producers just going, "Oh, we need someone for this. Who's done that? Oh, yeah, we'll get him again." And he looks a bit normal. He looks quite everyman, so you end up can get away with a lot. And then a few years ago, just wanted to sort of get back into. I don't know. I suppose I don't mean this in a controlling way, although I'm about to say, but having a little bit more control over things, creative control, or be able to pitch some stuff that you want to do. Like for example, at the moment we're doing a radio sitcom called Unite. We did a one-off sort of comedy playhouse. We did two that went out at the beginning of last year. One was a sitcom with Zoe Lyons called No Gods No Golf, and Unite, which I wrote with Mark Steele. And Elliot Steele and Ivo Graham, and it's basically a sort of odd couple sitcom where Mark Steele's character is a sort of working class guy who falls in love with a character played by Claire Skinner, the mum from Outnumbered, and her son is Ivo Graham. Elliot's obviously Mark's son, and you have this sort of two odd couple thing, and just really, I really like the creative process of sort of collaborating on the writing and then producing it and casting it. I mean, we recorded two of the episodes a couple of weeks ago. We got people like Kevin Eldon in it, and Susanna Fielding, who's in the new Alan, this time with Alan Partridge, who's brilliant. So it's just and just sitting in the editing. I love the editing process. So I really like sort of doing a bit of everything. Should probably concentrate on one and do it well, but it's nice. It's nice to keep things.
That's my next question. Imagine it's sort of kicking out time at a pub, right? And you meet a very, very nasty genie. Okay, right. So he's not giving you a wish that means you can just ask for a shitload of money and never work again. What he's going to say is,
or do that thing where you go 1,000 more wishes.
Yeah, you can only pick one field: producing, writing, acting, stand-up. You've got a piss genie who's going to give you you get all the work you want in it, but you have to pick one path.
Oh, that's a tricky one. I mean, first of all, should I even trust this piss genie? I mean, like, what's he doing at the pub anyway? But
we've all been there.
Weirdly, if it was a case of going, whichever one you pick, you'll have work and you'll be successful in, and so that's not a concern. Do you know? I would actually probably go acting out of everything. Like if it was going, you can stay in work, because part of the thing, most people, I've got friends who are actors. At least with if you do stand up, you can, to an extent. I mean, obviously not recently, but to an extent you can find work. You can go and try stuff out. You can go and you can keep busy, even if it's not necessarily paying the bills if you're early on in your career or whatever. Or am I? Have I got an echo? Should I put headphones in, or am I okay?
It doesn't sound like an echo for me.
Oh, cool. But I would say if it was a case of just like going, partly because if you're a reasonably successful actor and you're in work a lot, it's just if you're into acting anyway, then great. But there's a part of your role. There's no other responsibility. Obviously you need to learn your lines. You need to think about your character, think about how you're going to do it, as opposed to writing. Comedy, you're constantly going, I should be doing some more on that. I should be doing. Do you know what I mean? Not that actually you just turn up on the day, but you go. There's only so much prep you can do, and you learn your lines, and you learn your role, and then it's just mucking around, isn't it? Whereas everything else, and unless you're in a stage play, you still the buzz of live performing. But you know, if it ends up being shit, it could be that was down to the playwright. Whereas, you know, doing stand up, it's just you, isn't it? You live and die by your own material and performance on that night. And there's always just a sense with everything else that you should be doing a bit more. There's that nagging feeling, just go, I should really be doing this or that, or do you know what I mean?
So you like the control, unless you got given the choice and some other fucker can write all the words and you'll just showboat, do the lines, take the credit, and walk down the red carpet.
Exactly. That's exactly it in a nutshell. And I've never really thought about it before. I've never met a piss genie, but that, if it did come to it, I think that's what I'd go for.
But I just think, why would it's so brilliant that you don't have to, because you're doing so, you can do literally everything. I don't think there's anything on your CV that you couldn't do. You're future-proofing yourself, isn't it? Sorry, say again.
I can't juggle.
You need to get on that, because it's going to be jugglers, balls deep in jugglers.
Somebody wasted 2020.
As soon as the lockdown completely ends, I'll tell you
Hello,
what.
hot fuzz quote there for you. But yeah, no, I love it because you see people that are do comedy or amazing comedy. You're also right. I saw you live. You supported Greg Davis on tour for Magnificent Beast.
Yes.
And because I went to that. I was right at the back of we used to call it CIA. It's Motorpoint Arena now in Cardiff. And you were, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but maybe a little bit. But you were brilliant.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Very.
I was nervous. That was the biggest gig I've ever done. It's like, I think it's 5,000 people, and the sort of thing that myself as a stand-up, I'm not successful, will never be successful enough to sell out something like that. So the next best thing, do you know what I mean, is to be tagging on to hanging on to someone else's coattails, and just to experience that, which something that big was it. But I don't normally get nervous before gigs, but I can remember pacing around and getting that dry mouth. And I remember having a bottle of water with me and drinking the water, finishing the water, and then be like, I need another bottle of water. My mouth was just instantly going dry, just because it was, and I've been doing big gigs on the tour, and most of the shows were a couple of thousand, but suddenly that felt like a step up. And interestingly, where sometimes the criticism of arena comedy, and I've never done like a 10,000, a big proper arena, but the criticism often of arena comedy is that it's impersonal, which I totally understand. And I've watched a couple. I saw Lee Evans, and I've seen a couple of shows in big, and it did sometimes. It can feel a bit soulless, I think. But the Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff feels sort of weirdly, slightly intimate in its own way. But also, what I hadn't considered is the fact when you've got screens up, like for most gigs, if you're doing a theatre and you might have a 1,500, 2,000 seat theatre on something like a Greg Davis tour, but sometimes if it's quite spread out, people at the back can't really see that well. But actually, with the big screens, it means you can pick up those little facial reactions and sometimes the extra little looks and expressions and stuff that you wouldn't get necessarily at just a big theatre that's not as big as that, if that makes sense. But yeah, no, it was good. Just quick story, and it links to something you said earlier. When we were on tour, and obviously Greg's getting stopped left, right, and centre all over the place. He's because what happens is people just go, he's big. Oh, it's him. He's generally what happens. And he's a tall 6'8" as well, as in he walks tall. I mean, I know other tall people sort of hunch slightly, but he walks very, very tall. So you can imagine, we everywhere we went, we'd be getting stops for selfies and everything else. And we did a gig in Southend. And we went to the hotel afterwards, and we were just having a drink in the bar, and there was some sort of corporate Canon photocopiers party going on or something in the next room. And this woman came out, she's really pissed. She's going, oh my god, she comes up to him and she's like, oh my god. She's like ridiculously drunk and excited, sits there just talking. He's always very, very, very polite with people, no matter how much you might just want a quiet drink after the drink, but he's always very, and she was there for ages, chat. After, honestly, it must have been 15 minutes, her friend comes out and she goes, oh my god, come over here, look, it's Martin Clunes. And it was amazing. It was, and for the rest of the tour, he would wake up every morning wherever we were with a picture on WhatsApp of Martin Clunes. I'd find a different picture of Martin Clunes, and then to try and get his own back, he started sending me pictures saying that I look like Elton John, which I don't think I do. And I would send me very. You send me Elton John pictures every day, but yeah, Martin Clunes, the Fall and Rise.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I was saying, do you love comedy then? Do you love stand-up comedy? I know you said you would do acting, but do you really enjoy it?
I do. Yeah, I really enjoy it, and I really like. There's nothing better than coming up with, an idea that you might have been excited to try out a new idea, or gigs that like, and I've over the years, some of the places that I've been to, and some of the experience I've had, some of the people I've met, I absolutely love it. I think what after you've been doing it a while, probably what I don't enjoy is when there was a time when I was entirely reliant on it for income, and you find yourself sometimes doing gigs purely because you were offered it and you didn't have anything else in the diary. Now, again, it's a nice position to be in, that you go, oh, being offered paid work for gigs, but sometimes there'd be a Friday night, sat in traffic. I've been doing this for years now, and I'm driving to Doncaster, knowing full well, or whatever, knowing it's a bad gig. I did it before and it was a bad gig, and almost going, why have I? And most stand-ups would say the same. Sometimes I remember Andrew Bird, Andrew's a fantastic comedian, and I remember when he first started, and he was so excited to be going away anywhere. Do you know what I mean? It was all like, it was, because it's really exciting at first. You go, oh God, I'm getting a hotel, I'm getting paid, and I'm getting the train to a gig or driving to a gig, and then like a few years later, oh God, I've got to go to fucking York or whatever. It's just, I think sometimes it's the amount of time of the traveling and getting. I was talking to someone about this today, and getting stuck in traffic on your way to a gig, wondering if you're going to get there, and then thinking, I might not even make this gig, and if I don't, then I'm not getting paid, and I've just driven 5-6 hours for nothing. Or times I remember driving up to Leeds, literally getting there 2 minutes before I went on stage because of really bad Friday night traffic, doing the gig, getting back in my car, driving back and going, it was 9 hours. And then you work out the money, and you go, by the time I paid for my fuel and had a couple of coffees, and you just go, wow, the gig itself was lovely, and enjoy. If I could, I'd gig most nights, if not every night of the week, if it was local. Is that sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, people, because I drive as well as the gig, and I do drive. I used to, before pandemic, drive a lot for my day job, and I don't think people really realise how tiring it is on your body to be driving. That it is knackering, isn't it? So it's not even like when you've got a gig that's hours and hours away. It's not even that night. It's the next day. It's like you've got a hangover. Isn't it?
Exactly like it's always how I describe it. You go, I feel like I've had 10 pints. You know what I mean? You wake up, and it's just that constant, especially at night as well. And also, nothing worse. I almost cried one night when I was driving back from somewhere, and it hadn't been a particularly good or well-paid gig, and just hit just random roadworks, those roadworks where there's no one there doing anything, and you're just like, and you're getting diverted off, and I don't know whether someone was just pissing around and had moved the diversion signs or done something, but I mean, I must have been like an hour and a half of then coming back to the same point, and there was just a point where I genuinely did like a dry cry where I was back. It was like, no, just that, oh, not again.
Yeah, I've had that many a time on the M4.
Car breaking down sometimes.
Constantly, like, they'll just close the M4 just before Bristol, so you have to drive like a good hour out of you. Why have you closed at 10 p.m?
I've really got to be careful of which Venn diagram I'm standing in right now, because like truck driver, his comedians whinge about an hour's drive. Oh, they moved the time.
Of course, I forgot, Lucy, you're a truck driver. Of course you are. Yeah. What do you?
She gets breaks. She's allowed
and actually,
every 2 hours.
and actually, I bet you get out like mile per hour and per whatever else. You legally you have to have a break. Whereas what we're doing sometimes, you go, this isn't safe. You know what I mean?
Hang on. I am not having two comedians tell me that their driving experiences are worse.
But I would bet that I say hours and miles, like that you would get more than quite a lot of the time than people would for gigs doing the same amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I have to stop every 4.5 hours, whereas I know, because I used to festivals and events, like, oh, I've got a job up in Market Harborough, I'll just get into the car and go there now. And you're like 8 hours later, you're like, I don't even know where I am. Yeah. Because you just think, keep going. I mean, I've done a gig where I went from Brighton to Portsmouth and then to so-and-so, and I got so tired, I pulled into services. I wanted to buy a coffee, but it was £2.50 or £3 for a coffee. I was so tired. I got so angry at the pricing. I got back in my car and carried on driving because I was that tired. I had an internal fight about the pricing at a service station and carried on driving.
That was a few years ago because they're about £6 each now.
Yeah, I pulled over once where I put my seat back and I went to sleep, and then I woke up having a nightmare that I'd fallen asleep at the wheel. It was horrendous. I was doing okay. And I tell you what, that leads one that I was saying about when I turned that one particularly. I remember I was driving back, and I was driving on, and I could just not actually going to sleep. I just went, hang on, I haven't been concentrating for a bit, and I always remember this. I swerved up. There was hardly any cars on the road on the M1 coming back, and I thought I saw someone in a high vis in the middle of the road. They weren't, obviously, right? Yeah. But it was obviously a moment of daydreaming, and I'll tell you what, that woke me up and panicked me. But I remember thinking afterwards, going, if I was superstitious or if I believed in supernatural, I'd be Googling, did anyone, die on the M1? Did a workman die on the M1 in that place? I've just seen the ghost. It looked that real for a second.
That's just it, because you're seeing the same thing over and over again. You do start to hallucinate. I mean, I was driving to Arnhem in the Netherlands, and I was like, will that truck just overtake that other truck? It is getting on my fucking tits. And then I realised both the trucks were the same colour. They were going at the same speed, and they had the same reg plate. And I was like, oh.
Maybe time for a break.
Someone just said, Fran or Frank just said highway hypnosis. There you go. Franny Mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also get short-term amnesia and I'm sure that this is for truck drivers and for gigging comedians as well. You can get in your car, you can do 3.5 hours of driving, you've done all the right indication, you've checked your mirrors, you've been completely vigilant, can't remember it. It just gets completely filed in the bin. As soon as you get out and you're like, did I have a diversion? I don't know.
Yeah.
I had a mate of mine who fell asleep at the wheel and woke up with a speed camera, woke him up, and he reckons it saved his life. He got a ticket, obviously, but the speed camera. That's the other thing as well. I do a gag where I basically say I got done by a speed camera and go, I've now got 15 points. I go, well, I say 15, I've got 9. My poor mum's now got 6. Right? That was this and I tell you what, I've been on 9. My license was clean for ages, and then I just got bam, 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 just got hit with like one of those average speed cameras I thought didn't really exist, and got done doing like 58 or 6, something like 60 and a 50 average speed camera, and now I'm on 9, and it's just every drive is tense, every drive, because they don't those points don't come off for a year or two. So.
Oh my god, yeah, I really think, and I'll just say this, and we'll get off this subject because I'm sure everyone went,
it's very tedious. I do apologise.
But I think they haven't really looked at the point system since like the 1950s when no one was on the road and everyone was pissed after 10 p.m. Why is it that we only have 12 points when you could get those points in one day? So I really, if anyone from the highway agencies is watching, please change.
You're in Cardiff, right?
I'm in Swansea.
Well, then you're bloody go down to DVLA. It's in Swansea. Go down there.
Exactly. Let's say 9 and 10.
They're busy striking over their COVID restrictions at the minute, as in they don't have any, so they're all striking about that. But I will go with my little placard and go change the point system. I'm sure one day. Can I ask you a technical question, Barry, please? Right. So, do you believe in such a thing as a club set versus any other set, or is it all just a set?
Ooh.
I think that sometimes, particularly in Edinburgh, and I've seen reviews before where they might talk about a comic and I find in a slightly disparaging way and say that they're a club comic rather than say a high concept comic. No, I would say it depends on how much you. And I've had this conversation with lots of people about comedy. About it depends on how much you might adapt your stuff to suit your audience at the time or not. Like, for example, there are certain comics, just off the top of my head, people probably like Andrew Maxwell, Glenn Wool, Zoe Lyons. I mean, there are certain comics where you could put them in an art centre, or you could put them in a rowdy weekend stags and hens club, and they could handle either. There's certain acts who are a bit more esoteric or a bit more intellectual, whimsical, clever, whatever. I mean, who you go, okay, they would work well in an art centre. They might struggle at a weekend club. I've always quite respected people who can cross over both, and who. But I don't. I think generally people. In terms of having a club set, people have their material. Do you mean, and as we know, some people might be doing a mix of new stuff and some real bankers. Other people, might be trying out new stuff or turn over their material really quickly. Some people I know or have seen who I think turn over their material too quickly. Where you go, oh, another couple of months or 6 months, and that would have been a brilliant bit, but they've dropped it, whether it's because they get bored of it or not. So I think most of us you're just doing your best stuff, and I think probably in terms of say a club set, if you're booked to do a weekend somewhere and it is a weekend club, I think you're probably a lot more likely to do what you consider your bankers and your big hitters, or the bits that you go, this is because especially if it's somewhere you're going for the first time, that you want to make sure that you get booked again. Or if you're gigging abroad, you might go, okay, again, I want to do my stuff that isn't so UK centric and stuff that they're going to understand without specific references. So I think there always is a case of just sort of adapting slightly. Like I've always thought when I've done Edinburgh shows, I've only ever done two. Well, even those weren't really straight stand-up shows. I've never really done just a straight stand-up. Well, I think I will at some point, or go to the Free Fringe and just do an hour stand-up. But I've always done, when I've gone to Edinburgh, because I thought I spend all year round going to clubs and doing club sets, if you like, or doing stand-up at clubs. So if I'm going to go to Edinburgh Festival, I want to do something, play a character, or have some more multimedia in the show, or do something with a story, and rather than just do stand-up. Although I'll go and watch it. When I'm in Edinburgh, I'll watch a mix of everything. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it did. Brilliant. Thank you very much. I get too in my head about what is a club set, because I love doing, I've done a couple of shows, but it's just like, is this? I just get it in my head in between, or what with it? Because the trouble is, when you like my level, it's like I've done some tryouts for the Glee, but generally it's smaller nights. So, and it might not necessarily be a Friday and Saturday night either. It could be a Thursday night, different nights of the week. So that when you do get a gig on the weekend, it's like, oh, this is, not new exactly, but you're like, oh, is this the kind of thing they're going for? Or maybe it's about second guessing yourself, and you should just do what you think is funny.
Yeah, I think if it's ever doing sort of open spots, 10-minute spots at bigger clubs, then I think it makes sense to do the stuff that even if it's older, because at that point your sole purpose is to impress the promoter. And I remember in the past, I remember years and years ago doing a spot at a bigger club and thinking, oh, even on the spot, oh, I know, I just thought of this thing today. and just and started off. It wasn't as good as it had been in my head, and then I was on the back foot. So yeah, I think it can really vary. But the other thing is the advantage of the people who just go up to Edinburgh and do an hour of stand up, even if it's got a bit of a theme, is they can then immediately, there's a lot of stand ups and brilliant comics out there who every Edinburgh show they're writing a new hour, and then the best 20 minutes of that will form mostly what they'll do at clubs. Whereas if you go up there punching around as a character, you got nothing new after that, and then you got to start going, oh shit, now I need to write some new stand up as well.
Right, brilliant. Thank you so much. I think we've got some questions that have come in on the chat.
I was going to say, last week Sarah made this amazing statement that Stu Goldsmith loved, but she went, "I'm very conscious of time." I was just about to use the old Bridgman move there. Can I jump in with the first question off the wall? We've got Martin Ratton, who he tuned in randomly to hear you go your balls deep with a juggler, and he was like, "What does this inspire me to ask?" And he has said, "It's an entry level question. Do you have a favourite part of the country to gig in? And don't just say your hometown."
Do you know what? Again, it sort of depends on the gig itself. So I think sometimes some London gigs can sometimes be tricky, although I'd always quite like gigging in London as well. Not necessarily everywhere really. I remember, particularly Cardiff. I remember when I first went to Cardiff. I remember having a bad gig, and the first time I was down there, and then that sort of influences the way you think about the town. And of course, it's ridiculous because it's all about a gig with maybe 100, 200 people or whatever. And then once I'd gone back and done some good gigs at the Glee, suddenly go, oh no, I really, really love it here. I love I love most places I haven't enjoyed so much at times have been Liverpool and Manchester, because I think, and I think it's probably because, again, when you first start gigging there and you're not as experienced, and particularly sometimes I think there can be a bit of attitude towards someone with my accent. It's not quite. I think you can always get away with it if you're overly posh and if you're from anywhere else in the country. But with this sort of slightly working class estuary accent, that's not quite, not quite. I think they're like, oh, who's he think he is? Bloody Southern.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, and also I remember going on a gig once in Manchester, and it was everyone was local, and it was one of those ones where I just suddenly and I remember thinking I was on last, and just thinking, oh no, they're not going to like me, you know what I mean? Because everyone was like, hey, what's it like? What about the number 56 boss, eh? And then you go. But the main thing, Martin, is and where we are fortunate is to be able to go around and travel to to see so many both great and awful places in the UK. So many friends of mine who've never been anywhere. Do you know what I mean? They've never. I suppose in some ways, why would they? You're not going to go. Oh, I'm going to holiday in Norfolk, or whatever. I mean, some people do. It's lovely.
Oh, I'd love a cheeky night out in Basingstoke. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you don't love Basingstoke.
We have a fan called. Okay, go for Fran.
No, all right, okay. Frank is asking, what comedy film would you have liked to have acted in?
Well, I suppose what in a way I'd go. What are my favourite comedy films? And because they would probably be the ones. And I'd say that my two favourite comedy films would be Life of Brian, which I think I still think is an absolute classic and a great piece of satire. And secondly, which obviously I wouldn't be able to act in, is Team America, but I wouldn't,
Why?
Because it's all puppets. Oh, wait, yes. I'll tell you what, though. I did at one point. I probably could have got away with it in some way, because I did 3 months once at a mime and physical theatre school, right? And I really enjoyed it. It sounds
brilliant.
It was overall, it was great. It was the fittest I've ever been.
Drop the shame. You're within a safe space now, love.
But it was a bit like for example, the guy who ran it is this guy called Desmond Jones, and he was in his like 70s, and he trained under Lecoq and all these he was great, and the course, I say, it just added a lot to like how much sometimes in performance, even if it's, you know, you're not talking about actual, you know, mime, that you can use your body rather than just an element of clowning and physicality and stuff. I don't know, just one thing that was talked of, just like just simple things of like, even if you're doing a stand-up set, this is very boring, what I'm going to tell you anyway. It's like if you were like miming picking a cup off or something, right? You go like that. If you just do that, it looks like it's attached. So this is such a little simple trick. But if you're talking, if you just flick your wrist slightly, suddenly it looks like, oh, you picked it up, as opposed to that being on a tube. There's all little tricks like that, or like if you're playing drunk, your head is the last thing to move, right? Just it's just those little tips like that. But sometimes it's a bit poncy, and I had to do I'm getting somewhere with this, by the way. I had to we had to pretend we had an animal, and I had this monkey, right? Like in mining, having a monkey. Oh, we've got this monkey for him, right? And you had to like, then everyone had to do their little piece in front of the class, and I was a bit embarrassed. But I'm doing, and because some of the people there, people from all over Europe, and they were really intense, some of them, and at the end of it, I go, okay, so I've done the monkey bit. I'm stood there in front of everyone, and I'm still holding this imaginary monkey, and Desmond Jones said to me, and what's the name of your monkey? And I panicked. I thought I ought to say something like, and I just went, Chibu. And I just, Chibu. I don't know, still to this day, I don't know why I said Chibu. But,
Your mum's like, we haven't got one called Chibu.
Chibu. I was trying to sound like it had some sort of exotic weird. Anyway, but the reason I say this about the puppets. Someone then offered me some work doing like effectively the sort of shit you see people painted up stood in town centres, but it was sort of paid corporate work doing that. So you would wear this sort of Leichner makeup, this like really heavy makeup with eyelids, and the guy who ran the company, you go out in pairs. In fact, I did one in Cardiff as a chef. As a chef, it was a G7 summit years ago, and they invited everyone. So they suddenly put loads of flower beds up in Cardiff and made it all look at the time a lot nicer than at the time it was. I love Cardiff as a place, but this was a good few years ago. But they've really given it a spruce up for this G7 meeting, and they employed lots of street entertainers and got paid all right money to these sets. But they sent us out in Cardiff on a Saturday night at like 9 o'clock in the evening on Saturday night to stand there and be doing these little characters who come to life and do all this robotic shit. And I always remember this kid coming up and he's kicking me in the shins, right? And his parents sat there kind of lager looking at me, and I've got this ladle, and I just remember like just doing this robot and going, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? In the end, we had to abandon it because we were getting too much abuse. It was horrible. But so yes, I was a puppet. I was terrible at it though. We went up to the International Kite Festival in Washington. I hadn't slept. I've been partying all night. I hadn't slept, and I'm there just like monged out and like trying to do the steps. He's blinking. He's blinking. No shit.
Like one of those really long blinks. Like.
Yeah. On that journey, I genuinely woke up. I'd met the person that I was going up there with, who was my fellow. We were mechanics on that trip, and I'd met her at King's Cross. And I said, "Look, I'm not in a good way." And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look, I'm not in it. Just let you know, I'm not making this up." I woke up 3 times in different places on the train, right? And like no idea. And the last time, and it sounds like bullshit, I swear this is true. I woke up and I had a Japanese family around me. I was sat at a table, right? And there was like the mum, the nan, the kid, and then the dad was standing next to me. The girl that I was doing the job with, she said she watched this and she's never met me before. She's going, "Who's this freak?" She said the guy was speaking perfect English. For this day I was all confused, and he shows me his ticket. You know, back in the day, you used to get a long ticket that had a reserved seat on it. And apparently, he said, I just got out my ticket I bought on the day and I put it down next to it as if like snap, and then just went back to sleep. We just didn't know what to do.
Oh my God, we've all been there. You're lucky you didn't end up in France, is all I can say. Oh, brilliant. All right, we've got one more question off Lucy can introduce this question.
So we have a massive fan, Corey. So honestly, we will let you go. We're not going to force you any. You know, this is not a hostage situation, but we're chancing our arm. We're big fans. We're very conscious of time. We have a fan, a viewer, a loved one. We've now called him, called Hughes. He goes by other names, but he's a demon when it comes to desktop research, to the point where some people genuinely don't know how he knows the answers, because some people don't realize when you put things on the internet, they stay. So, hi, Barry. Whilst doing a gig at Forward Operating Base, did you soil yourself whilst you were cowering under your camp bed after a controlled explosion was detonated?
Who said this? Who's this from?
This is Hugh Janus. He's also called Mike Rochburn and Colin Mayhew.
I certainly panicked. Yes, quite a bit, and as I think most people would, if you're a forward operating base in Helmand Province, and then you hear an explosion. I was and yes. I didn't actually soil myself, although I might as well have, because when we went to those places, you have to. Some of them had no running water, and you have to go in a bag. They give it was pretty horrendous.
Sounds like Edinburgh.
But yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued as to how this person would know that.
It's probably an interview you gave years ago.
Google your name and go to page 12.
Every time it's like the person gets freaked. I'm like, oh, we want you to be. I love Colin. I love Hugh, but it's also like I don't want our guests to get freaked out anymore. Like, absolutely freaked. Like, well, what's going on? How do you know?
To be honest, it's probably not. It's probably not the worst thing he found.
Oh, thank you so. I'm intrigued now. I'm like, I didn't know you were in the army, so I'm like, oh,
no, I was performing.
Oh, I see.
Right. We went out to perform for troops. And it was absolutely fascinating because I'd no history of the military or anything, and I'm pretty anti-war and left wing in most of my views. But I sort of, when I first ever did those gigs, I had a real preconception, and actually I've some amazing experiences, and I'll just leave you with this. But this is again just genuinely 100% happened. I had to tell my mum that I was going out to Afghanistan. And my mum was a real worrier and panicker, and I sat her down. I said, "Listen, Mum, I've got something to tell you. I'm going out to Afghanistan to do some gigs." And she was really concerned for ages, and then she just looked at me and she just went, "Will they understand you?"
Oh,
I had to explain it wasn't for the Taliban. But.
This is the same adorable woman that couldn't work out why there weren't hands under those boxing gloves on the monkey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's the one. That's the one.
Would she really lend you a monkey to cuddle, or would it be like, no, you've gone too far?
Would she what?
Would she have lent you one of her monkeys to cuddle, do you think?
Yeah, but she would give me one of the ones. There's a few of them that she doesn't really give a shit about. I mean, they've got their favourite. So, yeah. She probably give me one of those.
Yeah. Like children.
Yeah.
Oh, can I just say thank you so much for coming on The Kitchen Sink.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic guest. Thank you so much. Lucy, have you got any more questions?
I know we laugh and joke about it, but thank you so much. During the depths of the pandemic, helping us raise money for the Iron Bevan Health Board. It's a challenging economic environment. So through all of those gigs that I managed to put on, I think we managed to raise over £1,000 for the Iron Bevan, which in that environment at that time, they had fuck all. The only thing I've got to apologise is, as being from Caerphilly, I went to Caerphilly during the little alleviation they had in October. They didn't deserve a penny of it. They're all window lickers that would refuse a mask. So I'm so sorry.
Oh, wish I hadn't done the gig now.
I wish I hadn't organised it. Standing in Asda's trying to take some man out, going, "Get away from me and put a mask on."
All right, everyone, follow Barry on Twitter. What have you got coming up next, Barry? Are you working on anything in particular?
When's Radio 4 coming up?
that comes out actually. That comes out in it starts on it's on Wednesdays. I think it's the 15th or 16th of June, but it's definitely on a Wednesday at 6:30, middle of June. Middle to end of June. So Unite, look up. So it's a series of this. They're putting out the one that was the sort of one-off comedy playhouse, and then 4 from the series straight afterwards.
And they don't just put anyone on before the Archers, so well done.
Yeah. I'm looking out for that. Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, what a lovely guest. What a fantastic guest. Thank you so much to Barry Castagnola. Didn't we all enjoy, everybody? Wasn't he fantastic?
Can I ask there? You know, we agreed that I was going to do my stupid Dicky videos and I was going to send them to you and then you were going to post them out on Twitter. Is there a reason why you didn't put out my rendition of The Beautiful South, Barry on Regardless?
Possibly. I thought I had put everything out. I thought I had.
So proud of it.
I did the Barry Manilow one.
The Castagnola.
I'm going to check whether that's my fault or yours because I thought I put everything out. Also, didn't remember yesterday when I said I've got the worst day of my life today.
It's just because Colin Mike Hugh replied that he said stop singing, my ears are bleeding. I not only wrote the lyrics down, I practiced Barry on Regardless.
I'm going to check Twitter now.
Then I overthought it so much when it goes good as gold but stupid as mud. I thought, is he going to be offended by that?
I think what we've learned is if you end up doing something that you personally really bloody love, put it out yourself. Don't allow me to do it.
I didn't know whether that was your subtle way of going.
If he'd sent it to me, I definitely. I'm looking it up now. Actually, I definitely put out. I'm seeing how many went out today.
I genuinely hope that Barry will come back on because all I've learned from this chat is that there's more we want to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. He was an amazing guest. He's got just so many, hats on, so many things that he can do. So very interesting chat there. So thank you. And how generous of his time, because we did go over by like 15 minutes. That's brilliant. So who have we got next week, Lucy? I'm putting you on the spot now. Is it?
Well, it's because it's our anniversary.
Yeah.
Because it's our anniversary and it is my birthday.
Yes.
Sarah Bridgeburn, right, my co-host of the Kitchen Sink, and hopefully I can say friend, decided to
get ahead of ourselves. Yes, of course, friends.
Please don't beat me afterwards. But you smashed it out of the bloody arena, and you were like, anniversary, Lucy's birthday, let's get Barnsey.
Let's get out the big gun.
So we have got Angela Barnes on this time next week, and after I did a gig, I did an online gig last week. Did you see my tweet? I literally sat down, put the old television on, and Angela Barnes is on live at Apollo. So I took a picture of the TV screen, and I was like, hello, like we got Angela Barnes coming on. She only bloody replied, I hit the ceiling.
You're going to talk to her next week, love. Yeah. So Angela Barnes.
My best mate has bought, bless him, Salisbury Comedy Festival has been advertising loads on Facebook, and every time they advertise, he goes, have you got Lucy Orchard Comedy coming on?
Oh, bless.
And they basically shunted me off. I think is that the word I'm looking for? They shunted me off. But old Angela Barnes, not old, vivacious, young, vibrant, prime of life. But Angela Barnes is performing, so I have got a ticket bought for me to go out in public with other people. And I'm going to get to see Angela Barnes perform, and I literally am like a kid at Christmas. I've had nothing to look forward to for about 18 months.
Yeah. And now you have Mock the Weeks, Angela Barnes. Televisions, Angela Barnes, and you,
for me,
you guys
news quiz. News quiz.
News quiz, Angela Barnes. So next week, join us 7 p.m. right back here. You might be joining us from YouTube or Twitch or Facebook. I knew there was something I forgot earlier in the intro. That's the bit I forgot. You're joining us from all over. Join us again next week for the fantastic Angela Barnes. And I think that's it. Apart from say thanks again to Barry Castagnola and also to Shani Thomas for what I learned. Thank you, Shani. And everyone else. And thank you for watching. Thanks for joining in. What are you coming for me?
I said, Rod, we're coming for you. Oh, and can I just do a special, can I get a little special mention, right? Last week, RGG38 turned up and said, I'm not here just for Stu. Honest. And I said, well, if you're not just here for Stu, we'll see you next week. And God love him.
He rocked up again.
A man that kept his promise.
Yeah. You chat to us though, right? You chat to everyone else. So where are we? RGG going back. Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. But thank you so much, everyone, for taking part. And again, thank you very much to Sarah Bridgman for being the most delectable, delightful co-host. Mwah!
Mwah. Thank you, Lucy Orchard, for also being there and for being
there. That's going on me fucking comedy CV. Lucy Orchard. There.
Well, she turned up. No, you didn't.
Be halfway through a fag by the end of the credits.
She's got a glittery back curtain as well. Sorry, but I'm high on Barry Castagnola. That was so good. Oh, next week birthday then. So birthday cake, birthday hat, birthday booze.
I smoke during the episode. Not when Angela's on, obviously. But during the comedy review, could I have a fag? It's my birthday treat.
Do you know what, gang? We're gonna go now because it's 8:30. I'm gonna get a walk in.
Yeah,
no,
right.
I'm
gonna press the outro.
If you haven't voted, bloody vote. Right, see you next week. Love you lots. Bye.
Love you, bye.
Well, that was the kitchen sink. Did we make you laugh? Did we make you think? You can now go to the loo. You can treat yourself to that great big poo. And we will see you next week. Yeah!